Okay, but you don't see Justin on, correct?
No.
No, I don't see Justin, but the recording is started.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and start, and then if we have to wait a few minutes. I'd like to call the meeting of the St. Louis County Board of Zoning Adjustment to order. The board members present today are Janet Herman, Chairman, Angelia Bills, Vice Chairman, and we're hoping for Justin Randall, the other member. The BZA coordinator is Debbie Nesbitt, and staff member is Mel Wilson, and staff planner is Emily Count. First, I offer into the record the affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, November 3rd, 2021. The board hereby takes official notice of and admits into evidence on the record the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 1003, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended, and Chapter 1004, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended. Next, I call for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous BZA meeting of October 20th, 2021. Angelia will have to unmute herself. Angelia, we did not hear you.
She's raised her hand. I think she's having a hard time unmuting.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now we can hear you. Would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous BZA meeting? Oh, no, she's off again.
I think you can unmute her as the host, Emily.
Yes, so when I unmute her, it goes right.
Yeah, it says
It won't. When I unmute her, it goes
Can you hear me
straight
now?
back to mute. Yes.
Yeah. Now it goes right back to muted.
it's something wrong with it, actually.
I'll leave that to the end of the meeting.
Okay.
The hearing procedure is informal, but is a teleconference and is recorded. The planning staff will read each request into the record. The petitioner will be unmuted, state their name, and make a brief presentation to the board explaining the reason and hardship for the requested variance. The board will not consider financial hardships. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts. And when the board is satisfied with the material presented, the chairperson will then ask if there is anyone in favor or opposition to the request. To indicate that you would like to speak, click the hand next to your name. If any comments were submitted, staff will read them into the record. Before a call for the vote, the petitioner may request a continuance in order to bring in additional documentation. The board may also request a continuance to gather additional information or for a visit to the site. Once comments have been heard, the chairperson will call for a vote. At that time, the discussion has ended and no further discussion is permitted. The board will generally make a decision today. Two members of the board must vote in favor of the petition for it to be approved. If a variance is approved, you have 6 months to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use requested, or the variance will expire. The petitioner or any interested party has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court, but this must be done within 30 days of the decision. And paperwork indicating the board's decision will be mailed to the petitioners. And Angelia, are you on now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we need a motion for you to approve the minutes of the previous BZA meeting, please.
So moved.
Okay, and I will second. And I don't know, I guess no one sees Justin either yet?
Justin is now on.
Oh, he's
Yep,
on.
I'm here.
Hi, Justin. Okay, sorry. Okey-dokey. Oops. Okay, I guess who's reading into the record? Emily?
Okay, first we have petition 92-21. Samuel and Nolene Miller request an exception to the rear yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a 16-foot by 22-foot storage shed at 8600 Stafford Court, maintaining a rear yard of 9 feet in lieu of 15 feet as required by the R4 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance.
Thank you. So who's speaking on behalf? Mr. Wagner?
That's what it says. Let me.
It's Sam Miller is in the attendee list, the property owner.
Okay. Mr. Miller, would you like to speak on your behalf?
Emily just needs to unmute him.
Oh,
Yes, Mr. Miller, you've been unmuted. He's on here twice.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. yes,
Okay.
we can hear you. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay. Let me turn this down. I'm gonna echo. Yes, we had an old shed that was here for a lot of years, and it has a very large pad underneath it. And the way the yard was situated, that the water would come down the hill, and it kept filling the shed with dirt and mud, and rotted. It eventually just rotted out the shed so bad we had to knock it down. And then I had the 17 cubic yards of crushed limestone brought in and rolled over with a asphalt steamroller. A professional crew did it, and to raise it up as it was the best spot far down just a little bit past where the other shed was. And then we had planned on putting piers on the corners of it to raise it up so it wouldn't damage this shed. And hence that's the reason for that. It's be 6 feet from the side fence. It's basically just where it is, just back a few feet from where the original shed has been for 60-something years on this lot.
And what's your hardship for the shed be?
Well, is the fact that we had to throw away a lot of materials and equipment that we had in the shed because water constantly coming in and rodents were coming in for it, and was filled. When I tore it down, I had to shovel out about 3 inches of mud out of the shed for where it was, and hence we had to put all the crushed limestone in there and raise it up back further, so it would be off the part where the hill where the water was running down, and so it wouldn't damage this shed. So I had to put a lot of stuff out for the trash and just for people to pick up because it rusted, and it was conducive to animals coming in the shed for where it was because it was moist and damp. And so we just want to put a much nicer shed in, and get rid of the eyesore. That's basically it.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
Justin, do you have any questions?
No. Yeah, this
Okay.
building, the other old shed that was there, if I might add it was just I guess a handyman thing. The shed that we have got now ordered is by Classic Buildings, and it's built to house specs, and it's very strong. Everything's on 12 centers, and it has 140 pound per square inch snow load. It's very well professionally constructed, and we want to have a really nice looking shed there as opposed to that piece of junk that's been there for all those years, because we have a nice backyard and we want to keep it that way.
Is there anyone here on this WebEx that would like to speak in favor or opposition? Please hit the hand next to your name to speak.
I don't see anyone.
Emily, why don't you unmute Mr. Steinbaker
Okay.
and see if he'd like to speak?
Okay.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you today?
Okay.
Could you introduce yourself? Mr. Steinbecker, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Can you see me?
We can hear you now.
We can hear
Okay.
you.
All right, we would like to thank the board for having us. First thing is, we had sent a letter to the board saying that we are against the construction of a 16 by 22 shed / garage at 8600 Chapter Court. Okay, right. Their house currently looks like a used car lot. We're sure he will continue the junk car collecting and will begin filling up his backyard too. The main trunk sewer line runs right through their yard where he's asking to put that shed. That's a feeder line for our subdivision along with the subdivision behind us. And if you gotta get a tractor in back there, you're not gonna be able to get in there and dig your thing with 9 feet. Let me see. Other reasons we're against construction said we're afraid we'll use the shed to repair old auto, adding to the mess he has already created. He keeps numerous automobiles in the front yard, which makes his house look like a junkyard from the 1960s. Some of the vehicles have been there and not moved for over 10 years. He parks an old red truck in the street and it's so big it blocks the trash truck. And we're concerned about if an ambulance or fire truck has got to come down the street. We're afraid that if he gets permission for this shed, that it's going to enable him to collect more junk cars the way it is now. I rest my case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
And I did drive by the property and I did notice quite a large number of cars. However, that's not what we're discussing today. It's only the storage shed, but I appreciate your information input. And is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor or opposition? No. And I believe there was another letter that came into the office in opposition. Am I correct? Debbie or Mel or Emily?
Debbie, you're muted.
Sorry about that. There was an email from Mr. Giles, the adjoining neighbor, who was opposed.
Okay. Okay. Well, if Justin and Angelia don't have any other comments.
I do have another question for the petitioner.
Okay.
Is there any plans to move the junk cars into the storage facility?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for one thing is, all my cars are licensed and insured and they all run. I have a 63 Ford Galaxy. I have a dually truck, and all my cars are dually licensed and insured. They all ride. They haven't been sitting there 10 years. They are moved regularly. Mr. Steinbaker has been harassing me over 35 years. I've lived at this residence, and he is a liar. They've done those cars at 10 years stuff is BS. And as far as the sewer line that he's talking about in the back, I worked for MSD for 37 years. There is no sewer that runs across the back of my property. He is talking out of his hat. He's an idiot, and he's been harassing me. He has called the county on me, the cops on me. He shot an arrow at me that missed me by about 4 feet on my patio. He threw a rock trying to break my picture window. He lets the arrow in my tires.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Okay, but those are neighborly things that we don't get into, but.
Okay, well, anyhow, there's no sewer that runs back there in the very back, and I do not have any junk cars sitting around that don't run. And the only reason for moving that back, whatever, is to preserve the shed, that a new shed back there, and keep it out of the water. It runs down the hill from the side property and from Mr. Giles next door. And Mr. Giles doesn't have anything to talk about with his, because he put up a shed that's one up against the side fence on the other side of his yard, totally 100% illegal. And behind his house is another brand new shed that is up against that fence, and it's taller down the hill than what my shed will be in my yard.
Okay, well,
Okay.
we're only talking about your shed today.
Okay,
Okay, well, thank you for the information. So
Oh,
No.
and I want to, if I could add, Mr. Steinbaker lives down the street. He has nothing to do with this here. And it was talking about sheds. The lady that lives next door to him, between us, put up a shed in her yard, and it's about 4 feet from the back fence.
Okay, again, we're not talking about your neighbors, we're
Okay.
discussing yours
All
information.
right. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
we're just trying to make our
No.
property look nice with a nice, beautiful shed and put all of our stuff in it, lawnmower and ATV and things off the patio in the yard and put it in the shed. That's what we want to do.
Okay, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
92-21, I'm gonna vote to deny the variance. I don't see enough of a hardship for it to be a shed to be put, excuse me, in that particular area. Looks like there's plenty of yard space to put it elsewhere.
I'll second that.
I concur.
Okay. Okay. I guess we can go on to 93-21. Emily, please.
Next, we have petition 93-21, James and Beverly Hill, request an exception to the side yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a retaining wall and, if required or desired, a fence on top of the wall at 10620 Wardak Avenue, maintaining a side yard of 2 feet in lieu of 8 feet as required by the R3 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. And Ryan, you are unmuted.
All right. Hello. How is everybody?
Hi.
Thank you for having me. So yes, here we're dealing with at Mr. and Mrs. Hill's house. Heavy retaining wall that'll be going across the rear of the property. Our main issue that we're dealing with here, our hardship, I guess you'd say, is the variance in elevation when we drop off the back of the concrete driveway there. It dives down, and as you can see, the wall on the east property line starts in elevation roughly of 4 feet. And as we approach the west end, it gets upwards of 6. So off of that back right corner, or the west corner of the drive there, the elevation dives pretty well. So by getting closer to the property line there and returning it back into grade, we're going to be able to bring it to a safe, manageable grade on both sides, both the low side being neighbor side and high side being Mr. and Mrs. Hill's house there. As well, there's an existing drain box at the southwest corner of the driveway that is fairly functional at this point. It does well collecting it, but with the construction of this return at that point, we will be able to adjust elevation just slightly around it to increase the collection, therefore eliminating runoff and the scare of.
Okay.
Okay.
Angelia or Justin, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I don't think I have any questions either.
Okay. And so if I understood you correctly, it's for the safety of people driving their cars back there.
It's safety for people driving. Yeah, that's a good point as well. But the maintenance of the area, Mr. and Mr. Hill are older, and they still enjoy taking care of their home. I don't know if you've drove by the home, but it's a showcase. And like I say, by doing this, they're going to be able to access the lower tier, let's call it, from the east side of the garage there within that setback that will be maintaining the county setback. And they'll go to the low side, maintain it, and then be able to come up on the top side and maintain as well. So yes, for safety of vehicles and just personal foot traffic as well for maintenance.
Okay. Is there anyone on this WebEx that's in favor or opposition to this? Please hit the hand next to your name.
I don't see any hands.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing none, 93-21. I vote to approve the variance as advertised, and I believe that it will keep up the upkeep and maintenance of the property.
I'll second.
I'll concur.
Okay, your paperwork will be mailed to the Hills.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your time.
Okay, I guess that's it. So,
All right, see y'all in 2 weeks.
All right, see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
okie dokie.
Mhm.